Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, we're going to break down and we're going to talk about the 49ers' big Sunday night football matchup coming off our bye week, taking on the LA Chargers. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a great game. There's a lot to talk about, so let's jump right in. When it comes to this matchup, the first thing that I want to talk about, and this is really big for both teams, is I want to talk about injuries. So when we look at the 49ers, there are a lot of players coming back healthy. First off, we got to talk about Deebo Samuel, of course. He missed the game against the Rams. He is back practicing. He will be good to go. Kyle Juszczyk, another important piece on the offense. He's good to go as well, recovered from his broken finger. Then we have Elijah Mitchell. He's been out since the middle of week 1. He'll be back. So him and CMC are going to split carries at running back. Really excited to see what formations and what, different personnel groups that Shanahan has with Mitchell back on the field. We know what he can do. With the 49ers too, a lot of other players coming back defensively. Look at Azeez Al-Shaair, Jordan Willis probably coming back, and then we have another one which is really good is Jimmy Ward now actually has the cast removed from his hand, so that really frees him up to allow him to do what he normally does, whether it's interceptions, really getting his hands in there to break up passes, force fumbles, all that good stuff. So really good news in that sense on the 49ers injury front. Now the 49ers are not totally healthy though, and of course we talked about in my other video I just put out, Jason Verrett is out for the season, torn Achilles, absolutely devastated for the guy. Hopefully he can recover and just do his thing after football. I don't know if we'll ever see him on a football field again, but prayers to Jason Verrett. Hopefully his recovery goes well. Other news, Arik Armstead continues to be out. Don't expect him to be there on Sunday night. Also, Samson Ebukam has not been practicing this week. He did suffer a quad injury on Monday, it sounded like, so I don't know if he'll be good to go. But luckily, the return of Jordan Willis should hopefully, to a certain degree, offset the loss of Samson Ebukam. Now, when we look at the Chargers, they are missing a lot of star players. Now, a lot of these guys have been out for a little while, but some of the key players to talk about for the Chargers, J.C. Jackson, the big free agent they brought in from New England, he's done for the year. Joey Bosa, he's going to be out for about another month or so he won't be going. Then you look at the Chargers offense, their left tackle, and very good left tackle, Rashawn Slater, he's out for the season. They're also looking to miss Mike Williams will be out, and so far this week, Keenan Allen has not practiced, so that's a lot of key players for the Chargers who are either definitely out or trending towards being out for the game on Sunday Night Football. Now what we're going to do next, we're going to talk about some of the key stats heading into this matchup. To me, the big thing when I look at the LA Chargers is their run game, and this is something that the 49ers will be able to exploit. When you look at the rushing attack and defensively, the Chargers are bottom 5 in both categories. They don't run the ball effectively, and they're really not good against the run. So that really plays into the hands of the 49ers, simply because the way the 49ers like to play the game, love to be ball control, usually have at least 35 plus minutes of ball. The Niners have a ton of different really good running backs, especially with Mitchell coming back. Christian McCaffrey, maybe we get Deebo Samuel running the ball going too in this game, going up against a run defense that has struggled to say the least. Now, the other really positive thing too that you can say is the Chargers are one of the worst rushing attacks, which is kind of weird to think when you have a guy as talented as Austin Eckler. The blocking has just struggled quite a bit, and they just haven't been running the ball. They've been getting into shootouts, big games where they have to throw the ball a lot more. And let's give credit where it's due. Their passing attacks have been top 5, top 10 all season long. Offensively, they are scoring more than the 49ers offense, but let's keep in mind they're missing a number of key players on offense, such as their starting wide receivers. So with the 49ers, however, and this is another advantage the Chargers have, is in the turnover battle. Right now on the season, 49ers -3, Chargers +2. So the Niners are really going to have to win that turnover battle, because I do think on paper the 49ers should be a better team than the Chargers, especially when you consider how many players the Chargers are missing. But also, coming off the bye week, I expect the team should be able to execute, should be a good game plan. I expect the 49ers to make a lot of plays. Statistically, ultimately, I think it favors the 49ers. When you look at both offenses in terms of scoring, the 49ers offense scores about 1 point less per game. It's 24 for the Chargers, 23 for the 49ers a game. However, the 49ers defense is playing way, way better than the LA Chargers defense. Now, what we're going to talk about next are some of the key matchups in this Sunday Night Football game. The first key matchup, and this is really going to be such a huge thing, not only with regards to the Chargers running, but also their passing, is their interior offensive line. Matt Filer, Corey Linsley, Zion Johnson, first round pick this year out of Boston College. How do they hold up against the 49ers interior defensive line, which is all backups? No Armstead, no Kinlaw. So this is a big thing where the Chargers might actually be able, and I think they probably do have the advantage when you talk about a great center like Corey Linsley and a really, really good right guard, young right guard in Zion Johnson. So if they can establish their run game, if they can give Herbert protection where he can just stand in the pocket, force Bosa and the other edge rushers to have to kind of circle around to get to Herbert, that could be a huge thing and a really big positive for the LA Chargers. Now, I suspect the 49ers will definitely try and combat in a number of different ways. Wouldn't be shocked too if they send some blitzes, whether it's Hufanga, whether it's Warner, Greenlaw, if he plays, Azeez Al-Shaair, Oren Burks might even get in there too. So I think the 49ers will throw in some different exotic blitz packages. I think you'll see a lot of stunts, especially to try and trip up their left tackle because we know Rashawn Slater is out there. I do have to give the edge here to the Chargers in this battle between their interior offensive line versus the 49ers interior defensive line. Now moving on from that, when we look at some of the big individual matchups, Khalil Mack, the amazing edge rusher, longtime veteran, is going to be matched up against Mike McGlinchey a lot. On the season, Khalil Mack already has 6 sacks, trending easily towards a double-digit sack season. Now, Mike McGlinchey, his pass protection woes are well documented. He definitely struggles. I do think as much as possible the Chargers are going to have Khalil Mack over on the 49ers' right side of the offensive line. Now, how do the 49ers combat that? Well, a couple of things. You might see a lot more of Charlie Werner, George Kittle into block. Possibly, when it comes to, let's say, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, you might have the running back on Jimmy Garoppolo's right, whether that's Juszczyk or whoever, just to help block should Khalil Mack get through. And you might even see bootlegs away from him just to try and run away from Khalil Mack a lot. It's one of those things where he's a guy who can wreck a game, and I really don't think that the 49ers are going to allow that to happen. Definitely in the one-on-one matchup, you'd say the advantage for sure Khalil Mack, but I think the 49ers will be able to scheme their way out of that one-on-one matchup consistently. Now, some other big-time matchups, and this is when we look at the Chargers and their offense. Going back to that, Austin Ekeler versus the 49ers linebackers. Ekeler is actually number 1 in receiving yards for running backs. Where do all those yards come from? Are most of them from screen passes? The Chargers, a very excellent screen team. 49ers have struggled in a lot of games defending the screen pass. So to me, when it comes to that, in certain situations, the 49ers have to be able to recognize that. This is where the guys like All-Pro Fred needs to really step up and play his game. You need to be aggressive when it comes to screen passes, be able to read and diagnose the play. And I'd like to think having that extra week, the bye week, the 49ers coaching staff and the players themselves would have really studied this LA Chargers offense and will be able to diagnose those plays. Look, the Chargers, they will get their yards when it comes to screen passes. You're never going to fully shut it down, but I do like the 49ers to make some plays there, to be aggressive when it comes to stopping the screen. Expect Fred Warner to see wherever Ekeler goes, Fred's got to go there, especially because, look, the Chargers, they don't have any significant weapons at tight end. Now, Gerald Everett, he's no slouch. He can put up yards, but I think you'll see a lot more of Al-Shaair or Greenlaw if he goes kind of matched up with the tight end. And for me, if I was DeMeco Ryans, I would say Fred Warner, you keep an eye on wherever Ekeler goes, that's where you go. Now, the last matchup that we're going to talk about with regards to individuals is going to be a really fun one. This is going to be Deebo Samuel, of course, at wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk up against guys like we have Derwin James Jr., the safety for the LA Chargers. I'm going to say that a few times on the live stream Sunday night. And also, of course, Asante Samuel Jr. Now, if I was the Chargers, how I would play this is I would basically say, how I talked about Fred Warner and Eckler, I would say Derwin James, you're on Debo. Asante Samuel, you're on Brandon Ayuk. Wherever they go, that's where you go. The Chargers are hurting. Now, they do have a decent free safety in Nazir Adderley, but they're missing J.C. Jackson. So the 49ers, of course, are going to try and really create those mismatches where they can get favorable matchups. Brandon Ayuk has developed into wide receiver number 1. He's been excellent so far this year. And the 49ers just have so many different weapons, different skill sets at different positions that I think that the 49ers, like Kyle Shanahan, will be able to scheme things around where they can get favorable matchups there. Now, when it comes down to it, in terms of playmakers, Derwin James we know is very good. Asante Samuel, very good player. Debo and Ayuk, both very good. So you have to kind of call this a wash. There's a lot of interesting matchups here, and I think this is going to be a really, really fun game because you have teams that attack other teams in very different ways. Chargers, Justin Herbert, not afraid to sling the ball, loves throwing the deep pass, screen passes as well to Austin Eckler, not so far this season, not running the ball effectively. The 49ers, typically the opposite way around. They want to run the ball, they want to control the clock, they want to limit possessions and put up points consistently. So we'll see how it all ends up. Now, coming up next is going to be my 49ers keys to winning this big Sunday Night Football game against the LA Chargers. The first thing that I think the 49ers need to do in order to come away with the win is, look, we talked about it, establish the run, control the clock. How do you do that? Heavy doses of Christian McCaffrey. I want to see Debo Samuel in the backfield. It hasn't worked so far really that well this season. I'd like to think in the bye week, maybe Anthony Lynn, Kyle Shanahan, Bobby Turner, they would have looked at maybe what's gone wrong and how they can fix it. Also, of course, Elijah Mitchell, I expect him to get maybe 10 to 15 carries this Sunday night. So being able to establish that, run the ball effectively, of course, that sets up play action, but then that also allows the 49ers to take some deep shots. And of course, look, you're going to try not to attack Derwin James or Asante Samuel, but they're going to get those schemes. They're going to, don't be afraid or don't be shocked if you see Jimmy Garoppolo test the Chargers safeties deep with guys like Danny Gray, Ray McLeod. It hasn't worked so far this year very well, but I think it's coming. So just keep an eye out for that. After we control the clock, hopefully build a lead, take some shots. Also, and basically this is just going to be leading on to that, is we have to control time of possession. Now, if the 49ers can effectively slow down the Chargers run game, then that really allows the 49ers to do what they do best in defense. So if you have it like when the Niners defense plays best, it's when opposing offenses are in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 11. So if the Niners can shut down the run game, and I think getting Azeez back is really going to help out, then that allows the Niners just to basically play their defense. Fred Warner, basically keep an eye on Austin Eckler. One of the big benefits to playing the Chargers is that Justin Herbert, although of course he can run the ball, he's really not a huge he's not really a huge threat with his legs compared to a lot of other guys in the league. So it's something that I really think that they'll allow Fred Warner just to zero in on Austin Eckler. Now, speaking of that, the 49ers do have to limit big plays. And when I say limit big plays, like the Chargers are missing a lot of receivers. So I think the big plays really are going to come from those screen passes. So if the Niners can shut those down and really force the Chargers out of their game plan, which that's what I think it's going to be, because they would have seen other teams have a lot of success against us with the screen passes, then I think the 49ers are in big time good shape to win this game. The other thing too, look, because I think the Niners will be able to have relative success shutting down the run game, all things considered, that I think getting just pressure after Justin Herbert. Of course, we know Nick Bosa is going to do his thing, but I'm really looking for some big games and guys like Drake Jackson to step up. Kerry Hyder, who's been kind of quiet this year. Maybe Kamoko Toure plays if Samson Ebukam can't go. Charles Omenihu. I want to see the Niners get after the Chargers quarterback, because if we can do that, force some mistakes, we know that Herbert has that gunslinging mentality. If we can force those mistakes, man, that can mean some real good things for the 49ers. And lastly, I think the Niners just have to be incredibly disciplined. There's been so many games this season that there's a bunch of penalties or we just completely blown coverages, and that's what's cost the 49ers time and time again. We look at week 1 against the Bears, all the penalties, blown coverages, that cost us the game. Against the Broncos, the safety and just the penalties cost us there. Time and time again, we can't beat ourselves. Look, you just can't do it. The Niners right now, 4-4 on the year, need to be able to move to that positive record, 5-4, the week after we play in Mexico City against the Cardinals, looking to really try and chase down the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC West. Now coming up here, I'm going to give you guys my prediction for this game. And I do have the 49ers coming away with a win here. I'm going to say the 49ers 27. I'm going to say the Chargers 23. So ultimately, it will be a close game. We know the Chargers, Justin Herbert, he can air it out. Their defense has been able to make plays in terms of turning the ball over, but I think the 49ers will have enough, and especially getting all these players back, to get the win on Sunday Night Football. So of course, guys, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments about the game. Drop your predictions, key matchups, all that good stuff. I love hearing that. Of course, I will be streaming the game live Sunday night. I'll also be streaming a game earlier on Sunday, but do check out, because that's going to be a really fun game. San Francisco versus LA, those are always a classic matchups right there. 49ers Chargers, it's going to be a good one. And to finish off the video, guys, I'm going to say two things. The butt counts. I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.